Hello everyone. In today's session, we are going to discuss language policy in India. Language policy is the part of Federalism chapter of our NCRT textbook. India is having a diversified language pattern and hence to have a uniformity in system, a well-defined language policy is much needed in India. Language policy is influenced by the federal structure of governance in India that empowers the states to retain their identity along with national unity. Strengthening states and including them in the system is the foundation of federal system, and that is what the basic objective behind language policy in India, right? What points we are going to cover are, first of all, we'll see that there is no national language designated in India. We have scheduled languages and we have official languages of states. We'll discuss the status of Hindi and also the status of English. And finally, we'll like to try the third language formula in language policy of India. Now, talking about the scheduled languages, actually 22 languages are recognized as scheduled languages, and these are mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. Our Constitution is divided into 12 schedules. Other than the articles that we are having 12 schedules in our Constitution, which are giving small piece of details regarding the constitutional provisions. So 8th schedule is having the list of all 22 languages which are recognized as scheduled languages. You can see it over here. Now these scheduled languages are actually coming up from the demand for equality. Why? Because if a state is having, say, Konkani as its language, right? Now Hindi or English cannot be imposed. Try to understand the importance of why we need to have such a vast and diversified language policy, right? Since because we are having the diversified nature of our country, so we need to include. Federalism is a policy of including the diversities. Okay, so to include the diversities in terms of language from all the states, we are having the concept of scheduled languages. Over a period of time, 22 languages are recognized as scheduled languages and they are listed under the 8th schedule of the Constitution. Now, advantage of this is that suppose from Assam or from northeastern exterior state, anybody is coming up with to take a part in central government examination. That time he may not be comfortable with Hindi or English, but at the same point of time he can go with his own scheduled language like Manipuri. You can see number 9 Manipuri is there, so or Assamese is there as number 1 or Bengali is there as number 2. So if they can attempt the paper in this language, which is their own language, obviously their performance will be better rather than if they are forced to perform in Hindi or English. So scheduled languages are taken. Another purpose of taking scheduled language is that the local level official administration, they can work in their language. This permission is given to them, so that becomes the official language of states. Fine. Each state has got its own official language. That is something out from those 22 scheduled languages you can see over here. Then much of the government work takes place in that official language of the concerned state. So suppose you are talking about Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is going to work in Hindi as the official language. Madhya Pradesh is going to work as Hindi as official language. But Gujarat administrative functions can be done in Gujarati. Karnataka administrative functions are being done in Kannada. I am talking about the local level administrative work. Okay. Of course, if a letter is going from Kannada government to central government, that is government of India, it will go in English, right? But if a letter is going from Bangalore office to suppose any other place within Karnataka. In that case, they will use the Kannada language. Fine. So that actually gives a sort of flexibility to states in terms of government, in terms of administration. At the same point of time, people are not having this feel that a particular language is being imposed on them. They feel comfortable with their local language, and it is up to them if they want to continue with Hindi or English other than their local language. Right now, of course, Hindi is important. We cannot say that Hindi is something that we can forget completely. So promotion of Hindi is still an official policy of the government of India, and it is clearly included in Article 351 that says that government will do efforts for promoting Hindi as an official language, right? Still, in non-Hindi speaking states, Hindi is never forced to be accepted. English was actually the use of English when the constitution was made. You know that we got freedom from the Britishers, so English was there in our roots that time, right? And Hindi was, of course, there as our language. So it was decided that till 1965 we will continue with English for official purposes. By the time it was thought that we can take up Hindi properly and then we can leave English. But later on, when reorganization of states took place, when Indian geographical area or the shape of India properly came into existence, then non-Hindi speaking states came up with the demand of continuing English for official purposes. So now you have Hindi, you have English, and you have the local scheduled language for any state to follow as official language. Then the constitution makers came up with a third language formula. The third language formula was implemented in 1968. 1965 English was supposed to stop with it, which actually didn't work. So then the makers came up with a third language formula. Then MOE, the organization, recommended the third language formula in a way that while studying in Hindi speaking states, the students will go with English, Hindi, and any modern Indian language. That is depending on the school or depending on the board what they are offering as the third language. But when it comes to non-Hindi speaking states, one language is English, that is compulsory. Second language becomes Hindi, and third language could be any native language depending upon again the state. Right? Tamil Nadu is an exception that continued with two language policy, and it does not show anywhere in its economic growth or social structure that it is becoming a problem for Tamil Nadu. Still, it was Tamil Nadu's choice of that time. Now, what is the need of such a diversified language policy is basically it serves three purposes. You need to understand whatever you have gone through in the PPT till now, need to understand under these three headers. One is accommodating group identity, right? Along with affirming national unity. So basically, a state is being accommodated within the federal structure of India along with its language based identity, and this will also help the state to increase administrative efficiency because they are working in their local language, not in a language that is forced onto them, right? If you remember, when we discussed federalism, and in federalism, when we were discussing that states come together to form a bigger unit, or a bigger unit is divided into smaller units for better administration. In both the ways, smaller units are supposed to stay together, still retaining their individuality. Okay, what is the most important thing in federalism is that the units should stay together, they should be united as a nation, but their individuality should not be lost. Right? That is what is the basic gist of federalism. So when it is a language policy we are giving to states where they can go ahead with their own local language as an official language even for central government examinations, right? Along with that, they are having the opportunity to continue with the national level official language, that is Hindi and English. So that will give them the sense of identity, the individuality, at the same point of time, the national unity. And finally, of course, the administrative efficiency. That is what that is all what you need to know about the language policy of India. Please go through it once again and remember this important points over here.